Okay, recording this video after close trading Monday, 21st of April 2014. Hope you had a good day's trading today. Well, got back into it last night, and what a slow, sluggish day to start back in trading. And got an email from Stephen halfway through today saying, man, what is up with volume today? Am I missing something? This is what Stephen's talking about. By the end of the day, we'd only done 0.5 million contracts traded. The reason's quite simple. It's Easter. Most of the markets are shut around the world. Certainly Europe was shut. Here in Australia we were shut, bank holiday Monday. But the US markets are open, and not everybody is back at their desks. That's why the volume was so light. On days like that, the best thing to do is just kind of stop trading, take a point or two, maybe get out, don't do anything, because slow, low-range days are dangerous days. Anyway, what we're doing at the moment, I think, is just playing out this seasonal pattern. Put up the last video and post that I put on the site was a seasonal indicator that I think is kind of pretty useful. Got very little feedback from it though, frankly. A couple of thank yous, but pretty much blur after that. So I don't know, people aren't into this kind of seasonality. I can understand that. I'm not particularly into it myself, but I do think there are half a dozen patterns during the year that are kind of interesting, and this seasonal pattern around tax time I think is one of those. And what it is, it's a V-shaped pattern kind of leading into the 15th of April, tax day. You get a sell-off with people taking profits, raising cash to pay taxes, and then the tax advantaged investments, the money's flowing in by the 15th and needs to be kind of reinvested, and we get this flow kind of coming out around that 15th. So we get weakness followed by strength, a little bit of a V pattern, and this year it's played out beautifully. The high being marked up here, top of the V, then we had this big sell-off over the last week, and then this bounce back that we've had in the last several days. And the seasonality indicator is saying we've got another day of strength to go before this thing starts to look weak again. So today was a weak kind of amateur up bar, low volume up bar type day. I think we're going to get a follow through day tomorrow, but after that, who knows? This seasonal pattern has kind of run its course, and I think we're kind of out of this kind of little bit of strength that we had kind of recently. So it's been a nice little pattern this year, but obviously not all that much interest in it. And where are we in terms of overall? We're back into a congestion zone. We had this nice kind of sell-off. We had a false breakout, if you look at better trend line, where we're breaking above this falling trend line at the top here. We had a false breakout here, back into congestion, and then that means we're going to play with the other side of the congestion zone and fall through it, which is what we did. And then we've had this bounce back into congestion. So we're just playing around here, just waiting for this kind of resolution. And the way this is kind of playing out is the high beta indices, the NASDAQ indices, the ones that, and the Russells are the ones looking really weak. And I'll show you that better X trend. So first of all, let me just show you Dow. This is the trailing stop based on exhaustion volume, better X trend here. We've come back up under the lip here, and we're just playing around with this kind of resistance point here. S&P 500, same thing. We've come back under the lip, just like we did here, that we fell off from. But the NASDAQ, we're coming back under the lip, but look how far we are from the trailing stop, miles away. NASDAQ's been an incredibly strong kind of downtrending move. The sell-off in the NASDAQ's been the strongest of the lot, and the move back up has been incredibly weak. So the leading indices are the Russell and the NASDAQ, and so those are the ones that we need to kind of understand what's going on. The less highly leveraged, high beta kind of indices, the Dow particularly, is looking relatively strong. It's full of high dividend yielding blue chips, whereas the NASDAQ is full of kind of the fast moving high beta type stocks. And so we look to the leading indices to see what's going on. And because this drop off's been so severe, the rally back has been really weak. Expecting this to kind of continue down. It's just a question of how this plays itself out over the next several days. You can also see it in the volume patterns, and we bounced off a Rambo pattern here, but on the NASDAQ on the daily chart we've had 3 amateur up bars in a row kind of going the other way, just showing the weakness of this. There've only been one in a sequence. There's the S&P 500 with today's activity. The Russell, we don't have volume data. This is the Dow with today's activity, but that's the important one. The NASDAQ, you can see the retrace back up, been weak in terms of the amount of distance it's been able to retravel, so people aren't in a hurry to buy the NASDAQ, and then it's being led by the amateurs with amateur up bars at this stage. So I think we're going to come back down. Support becomes resistance. We're weak, we're below support here on the NASDAQ. We'll get a day of strength tomorrow, but then let's just see how this thing kind of rolls over and plays out. In terms of the long-term charts, what we've done just recently over the last 2 or 3 days on the 4500 tip bar chart is just we haven't broken into trend moves. It's just been a complex correction on the way back up, and you can see a complex correction is when we don't break support and resistance. We're just bouncing off those support and resistance levels as we go back up in this kind of wedging pattern. We don't break into a trend move that ends up with a pullback to end of trend kind of exhaustion pattern. We're just making this kind of complex correction on the way back up. So let's see how this kind of plays out. We're still above resistance on the 13,500, so I still think we've got to make pullback to end of trend on this chart at least. But how this plays out, I'm just not sure tomorrow. Potentially because we've got that seasonal strength. We had an update today. Maybe the money's going to flow back tomorrow, Tuesday, and we'll get a little bit of an exhaustion buy kind of pattern, and we end up with an exhaustion into the weakness coming, kind of Wednesday, Thursday, or this thing just rolls over with no demand. Not sure, don't know. So just play it by ear. Today we had a nice little triple kind of set up at the beginning of the day. 4500 tip bar chart. A triple is when we get support or resistance on all 3 time frames kind of lining up, and you can see the professionals kind of joining in, and they're kind of good for high probability kind of low risk trades. So the 4500 tip bar chart, we had support at the beginning of today. This is Monday. We had some sell-off activity this was Thursday, kind of some weakness, just taking profits before the weekend, but that wasn't particularly kind of anxious to get out. That was just kind of closing out positions. So I would have liked to have seen, or what I normally see is look for is follow through the next day with an exhaustion pattern then. So the high probability as trade is to assume that the trend is still in place. So support was in on the 4500 tip bar chart. On the 15 we also got support here. Today's activity didn't end until we had exhaustion on the upside here. With bearish divergence and Rambo patterns and blue professional bars at those highs. So the support was in on the 1500 tip bar chart, and then we got a nice little retrace move here from this Rambo pattern into support on the 500 tip bar chart, having had a little bit of a cluster of blue professional bars at the beginning there. So went long at 60.25, out at 64.25. Didn't move my target because it was such a incredibly slow, sluggish day. You don't want to be doing that. You want to be kind of out and just take your profits and be done. It took a long time for that trade to work itself out, but once it was done, I was not going to do anything after that, and we had a nasty little kind of drop off in the market before we kind of V-shaped bounce back into the exhaustion pattern and bearish divergence here. Anyway, so that's what things going on at the moment. I think we'll get a little bit of strength follow through tomorrow, but after that things are going to look a little bit weak. So just watch the Nasdaq and see what it does over the next couple of days. Hope your trading is going well. It's gone long 60.25, long 60.25, just checking stops and targets. And it's Monday morning, 21st April. Just gone 8:41, kind of slow. So it's a little bit of a low volume day. The reason I'm going long, got a triple going on. So beginning of the day, blue professional bars 500 kind of coming, support holds. It's just starting to break up quickly. So we got cyclical support 1500 and 45. So bang bang bang, all lining up, and now we're kind of taking off. So we're taking off quickly. Where are we going today? So Friday we had exhaustion buy and bearish divergence come in. So if we're going to reverse today, or at least go for some kind of exhaustion pattern, you'd have thought during the day session. This kind of selling at the end of the day was pretty big, but that was just kind of profit taking into a long weekend. So this is breaking up nicely. So the first set of blue professional bars have been down here and done nothing since. And even on this retrace, they didn't kind of come in here. It was back into that zone, but we didn't see blue professional bars here. Anyway, so we're breaking out this little zone, and what are we looking at here? 375. Okay, we've got resistance in on the 515. That's the first blue professional bar we've seen on the 1500. A little bit of profit taking, come back. Alright, blue professional up bar. Let's see where we go. Are they picking that up in order to get out of this breakout zone at 63? Ride this thing up. It's pretty slow. Target's at 4.25. Ooh, more blue professional bars. Oh, still going above it. Let's see. Alright, we've hit 63 twice. Blue professional bars up here. A bearish divergence. That was a big reading. Still on 500. Come back down to the 61 again. Give it one more go through 63s. It's at the bottom of where the blue professional bars came in on 1500. Can't get through, so if we're back into the 60s, gotta dump it. Alright, it's having one more go, come on. Alright, breaking through 63s. Just looking for 4.25, so slow. Just get out. 3000 on better momentum. 375 is the number here. 4.25, there'll be stops to run, that kind of stuff. Come on. It's out of up bars, but it's only on 500. It's almost like a little gathering pattern there. Come on, yes, okay. Bingo, out of 4.25 for 4. Excellent, but that was slow as 9:05 AM. So blue professional bar's going to come in here. It's only a 6,000 reading on the 1500, so it's got to go to exhaustion, probably an 8 or something. But happy with that.